Welcome to JSA TV, where we're covering the latest news, trends, and innovations from thought leaders from within the digital infrastructure space. And we are coming at you live. That's right, Tony, we are live right now. We're coming at you live from beautiful downtown New York City, the Big Apple, at DCD Connect. And this good-looking guy to my right is Mr. Tony Rasabi. Tony is the managing member of Okolo. Tony, welcome to JSA TV.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on, and looking forward to talking about the data center space and this amazing conference.
Now, it's a great conference. Have you had a chance to walk the floor already and do all that?
I did. It's a lot of new entrants, a lot of power folks, a lot of construction folks.
Yeah.
So it's quite a different conference than we're all accustomed to from just general data center networking.
Yeah, because without that infrastructure, there is no general data centers anymore. Without the ecosystem of all of the various players that you just talked about, they're the ones who are making this happen for us, right?
That's right. I mean, it's all about partnerships within this space, right?
Yeah.
So, each company that I look over here, where there's the exhibit floor, plays a role within developing this ecosystem of making sure data centers are delivered on time,
Yeah.
customers are happy, the suppliers are happy, etc.
Yeah. Okay, so before we go any further, for our viewers that don't already know, why don't you tell them a little bit about Okolo?
Sure. Okolo is an online marketplace for data centers. We have about 148 data center providers, over 4,000 data centers listed, and we partner with a number of folks. We're developing a resource page, so a lot of these folks here over data center construction are going to be listed. And we've been around, started about 4 years ago, but really started to get into about 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So we're going to shift to cloud, right? Enterprises, are they expecting too much from the cloud providers at this point?
Look, I think there's a lot of demand, both from a growth perspective. The enterprises obviously rely heavily on the hyperscalers.
Yeah.
They're also, some of them are building their own private cloud. They're going to data centers and actually developing, a large scale sort of 2 to 3 or 10 megawatts and developing their own private cloud. I think there's a lot of pressure on everybody today within this space. There's huge demand from a growth perspective, and it's being driven by cloud. It's being driven by AI, by content, and by enterprise adoption of AI IT outsource.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a huge growth, but there's going to continue to be pressure because we have voids within power. Land is becoming more expensive. Power is obviously becoming more expensive.
Yeah.
And then the one that we don't talk a lot about is resources. Folks are aging out. Folks are, have made a lot of money or deciding to leave this business. And so I think resources are going to become a challenge. That's sort of the next wave.
I love it. We're going to talk about Next Wave in just a moment, but nobody leaves the JSA TV without talking about AI, and you're no different today, Tony. But let's talk a little bit about so AI evolving at breakneck speeds right now. But how ultimately is that evolution kind of impacting your business specifically to like optimization and automation?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that's AI is obviously, I mean, we talk about it a lot. It used to be 10 years ago was the edge. Now it's AI. Yeah. It's just different types of solutions that are looking at. I mean, I think the challenge we have with AI is I don't think we fully understand it. And I think there's a lot of talk around it, but it is growing exceptionally quickly. And if we look at the last 18 months of growth, there's been more growth over the last 18 months within the data center space than there has the previous 10 years. So, and I think we're going to continue to experience that.
Yeah.
And AI will drive a large portion of it. I think there's been a bit of a slowdown over the last little bit because folks are trying to catch up and really understand it. But I don't see that from a long-term perspective. And if you look and you look at companies that are driving this, the CoreWeaves, the Groks, the ChatGPT, OpenAI, et cetera, those folks are going to continue to thrive and grow.
Yeah. So, I feel like we've got a million other questions that we could go to from there. But, we were talking about that ecosystem earlier, and we were talking about, some of those the trends. From your seat, what are the big trends that we can expect to see? And it could be, to your point, I mean, there's some slowing down a little bit, only because it's not really a race anymore. It's more of a relay. We need these people to kind of catch up so these people can move forward, that kind of thing.
I just think there's a big void in terms of the amount of available capacity. Yeah. So that's a challenge today, and that's going to continue to be a challenge. So I think what we're going to see is how how power plays into this, and you're going to see a lot of power players. There's a lot of new entrants. I mean, I'm meeting more and more folks that are trying. I think the other thing is, making sure that you can find reliable partners that are actually going to deliver on what they say. And I think, sort of lastly, it's just having a general understanding that delivery times and delivery time frames and where people commit to are just not, unfortunately, are not going to be met.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's interesting. That's just the fact of life right now in the industry. But look, Tony, you're my first interview of the entire conference, and it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
You bet it. And thank you, viewers, for watching JSA TV. We'll see you soon. Welcome to JSA TV, covering the latest news, trends, and innovations from thought leaders from within the digital infrastructure industry. And we are coming at you from DCD Connect in the Big Apple, New York City, New York. And this handsome fella to my right is Mr. Kyle Folk. Kyle is the Data Center Solutions Manager for Armstrong Data Centers. Kyle, welcome to JSA TV.
Thank you for having me. First time, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, outstanding. So I think we'd be hard-pressed to not find people who have heard of Armstrong, right? You guys have a history of innovation and things like that. But why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about your play specifically in the data center space?
Yeah, Armstrong has been around for quite a while, but as of recent, we are extremely committed to the actual data center space. And all of the other markets that we were typically involved in, we're committed to those same attributes in the data center space as we have been in the past. So we're just extremely excited to kind of further that within the data center space and meet all these lovely people that we are now growing to know in the data center space.
I love that you said that, dude, because that's what this event is about.
Yeah.
You know, I struggle sometimes to get up out of this chair in between interviews to use the bathroom because I will always run into somebody who I haven't seen. You know, could have been a week. It could have been 5 years from now. But the industry is kind of like that. And we talk about ecosystems from within in the industry, and Armstrong is now a big part of that ecosystem. But why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about how how data centers fit into the overall strategy for Armstrong?
Digitalization is a real big thing as of recent within Armstrong. So not only with our own company, we obviously see that growing in our everyday lives, whether you're streaming, you're looking at your phone, you're texting, you're calling your loved ones. So we're just overall committed to being able to provide that through our solutions. And just even further expanding on the digitalization that we're seeing with Armstrong and our own products and within the white spaces with the customers that we're dealing with in the data center space.
I love it. Welcome to the ecosystem. And it's great to meet you.
Yeah, I've been doing it for about 2 years now, in the ceiling space for about 12.
Amazing.
So the last 2 years in data center specific has been a very fun ride so far.
I'll bet. Speaking of fun rides, now I understand that you recently had an acquisition.
We did.
Cool Shield.
Tell
us about it.
So the acquisition with Cool Shield is very exciting for us. Typically, we've played in the ceiling space, but now we're kind of taking things from the floor up with the acquisition of Cool Shield. They are real big in containment products. So again, getting back to trying to keep everyone cool, that's what we're trying to do in the actual data center space with everyone's servers.
You're a great messenger.
To keep all those spaces cool, because again, we all know that a lot of energy usage within the data center itself is trying to keep the data center cool. So being able to contain that hot air and keep your servers cool via your containment and your structural sealing, which we also offer, which we'll get to in a little. It's just kind of rounds out our portfolio, and we can provide everything from front of house space to everything in your white space now, from containment all the way up to your structural grid. So it's exciting for us, and it's kind of something we've never ventured into before, but it kind of is opening up quite a few doors for us.
Well, let's talk about structural sealing since you mentioned that, specifically as it relates to efficiency and scalability and installation and things like that.
Absolutely.
Let's hear it.
So for structural grid, I mean, for us, the main aspect of it is being able to support whatever owners need, whether it's bus bars, cable trays, that cool shield containment, and providing that barrier or partition to your plenum space. So again, just keep your space nice and cool. Provide that area for containment or whatever it may need to be for supporting weight, supporting loads. And again, it's a nice architectural feature too that can make the space look nice and clean and contained. And the biggest part is not penetrating the ceiling. Everything hangs off of the grid itself. So again, minimizing those penetrations in the ceiling kind of cuts out, again, that air leakage that could potentially happen and make your HVAC or energy kind of work into overdrive and make you spend more money from the energy inefficiency side of things.
I get it. I tend to leak hot air from time to time. You knew I was going to go there, right?
And it sells, so I do too.
I get it. And Kyle, that's all the time we have.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, no, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely,
awesome.
Absolutely. And thank you, viewers, for watching JSA TV. We'll see you soon. Welcome to JSA TV, where we're covering the latest news, trends, and innovations from thought leaders like my friend Atif over here from within the digital infrastructure space. And Atif, we are live at DCD Connect in the Big Apple, New York City, New York. How are you?
I'm doing great, Dean. It's great to be here again with you in New York.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. And the show going well for you.
It's amazing. So busy. I guess the data center market is really exploding.
Yeah, exactly. And for those of you who don't know, this guy right here, this is Atif Ansar. And Atif is the executive chairman and co-founder of Foresight. Atif, you're no stranger to JSA TV, so I'm going to jump right into this.
Go for it.
You position yourselves as the control tower for data center construction projects. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about that?
So, look, data centers are incredibly critical to the economy right now. They are absolutely exploding in terms of number of projects being built. There's a 10x increase in volume of construction from under 500 megawatts 4 years ago to over 5,000 megawatts today. With that growth has come a lot of complexity in the supply chain. The scale of projects is going up. The number of components, suppliers, you need up to 1,000, 1,500 people on site to build a hyperscale data center. So that means a lot of things can simply slip, from one's fingers.
Yes.
And no human being, the complexity is so great, no human team can cope with that complexity. We know from Nobel Prize winning research going all the way back to the 1670s, human beings can only remember about 5 chunks in their head. But in a data
I don't know
center
why that's
project,
funny to me, but it makes sense, doesn't it?
exactly. Herbert Simon's work showed that in a data center project, you've got to remember a million chunks.
Yeah.
So the basic idea that we have at Foresight is we read your complex data, translate that like a control tower into bits, the 5 bits that every person has to manage using machine intelligence. So you can effectively use our AI engine as an extension of your human memory so that no balls get dropped. And it helps to keep everything on track, keep the entire supply chain coordinated, and give yourselves an hour by hour view on what's happening in your project and what you need to do to accelerate it.
I love it. And you mentioned AI, and you don't get out of the chair without talking about AI. But why don't you talk a little bit about how AI is ultimately helping to enable some of the efficiency and quality on your side?
So look, what our research has shown is 9 out of 10 data centers are running late right now. The average overrun is 34% in terms of time. So that means an 18-month project is prone to becoming like a 24, 26-month project. Now, underlying that is schedule information in very complex databases. One of them is known as Primavera P6. Microsoft, which is an Oracle product. Microsoft has a competing product called Microsoft Project. These are black boxes. They're very valuable products, cannot be denied. But these are black boxes that are typically owned by a few people on a project site. And the data underlying them is not visible to the superintendents, the field engineers, to the executives. Yeah. So the dependencies of how something not getting done impacts all the other dominoes that rely upon the first one falling are very hard to map out. So what Foresight and our AI helps to do is read that data, make sense of it, and then compare it against our historical database, and then ultimately going back to the control tower analogy, make sure the right people know what they need to do, when they need to do it, and where they need to do it. So it's like a little bit like a dispatch problem of how FedEx might dispatch a parcels, or how an air traffic control system might route the aircrafts so you don't have mid-air collisions. Basically,
it's AI logistics.
That's it.
Interesting. So, Atif, what we know of the data center industry today is not what it'll be tomorrow, let alone 10 years from now. But why don't you talk a little bit about what some of the challenges are today, but ultimately how those challenges swell as as data center builds continue at the pace that they are currently.
Absolutely. So look, data centers account for nearly 10% of global construction volume right now. But as many people as there are at the conference, they only represent 0.05% of the construction labor force, including skilled labor. So it's a huge task ahead of us as an industry, with a very small labor supply to build, one of the grandest programs that human beings have ever attempted.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a mismatch between what demand is pulling, and what people can supply right now. So I think what we are seeing, and where again foresight is playing a role, is making sure that this complexity does not overwhelm the supply chain and the owners, the hyperscalers, but instead they use this learning process to stabilize the process by which they plan, execute their projects, and minimize the risk. And that requires a kind of discipline that the industry didn't need to this point, simply because you could kind of start a project and get going. A colleague of mine at Oxford University calls it think slow, act fast. And I think right now we've got it the other way around. People are acting very fast. But without thinking, which is causing a lot of snags. And I think as this evolves, that complexity will need to be worked out. For example, by using systems like ours to make sure that people are doing it in a very disciplined, data-based way.
Right now it does truly feel like a hurry up and wait kind of scenario, where we know it's got to be done, but hold up. There are these other things, and so and you help to keep those dominoes upright so that they don't all come cascading down and ultimately cause a 12-month to be a 24-month kind of thing.
Absolutely. Look, there's a lot of value being generated. So there's a huge amount of wealth being created in the sector by people who are doing it in a very numeric, disciplined way, and that's what we stand for.
So let's put on bring out our crystal balls. If you had to tell our audience right now the trends that you're seeing today and where you think things are going, what would those be? What would the biggest ones be?
So look, there are lots of trends that everybody's very familiar with. The scale of projects is through the roof. The power constraint is getting more and more severe. The rack densities are through the roof. Underpinning this is a huge evolution in design. So the switch from air cooling to liquid cooling, simply supporting the kind of power densities that are not now required. So I think all of those trends will continue. Alongside that is a much greater need to upgrade the overall planning, stage gate, and governance processes in the data center industry. It's in a way a very nascent, kind of a startup industry with people that are pioneers.
That is interesting. That's an interesting concept. Yeah, it is a little, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think there's elements of kind of more traditional governance, for example, from sectors like oil and gas, that needs to come in. Data center projects are getting as large as big oil and gas projects, into billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And I think right now the industry is a bit light on that thinking element, because everybody is in such a hurry. So I do think the best players will take a deep breath, assess the situation, and build that platform. So for example, we're working with a large data center developer to help them develop a template schedule for their multi-trade racks, which are built in a much more industrialized fashion. So they're really trying to optimize and modularize this one component of their build program that unleashes up to 6 months of time saving for them. But the way they're going about it is a very disciplined process. It's not a mad rush to modularize.
I get it. Yeah.
It's like a think slow and disciplined way of achieving those efficiencies.
And ultimately, speed to market increases by slowing down a little bit, huh?
That's it. If you think harder in a much clearer way, it actually improves your ability to move a lot faster with the right partnerships.
Atif, it's always great to have you on JSA TV. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Pleasure to be here.
You bet. And thank you, viewers, for watching JSA TV. We'll see you soon. Welcome to JSA TV, where we're covering the latest news, trends, and innovations from thought leader like my friend Sam over here from within the digital infrastructure industry. And Sam, we are live at DCD Connect, the Big Apple, New York, New York.
Nice.
How's the show going for you?
Amazing. Already it is incredibly busy. And the format has changed a little bit this year. This day usually was a little bit slower than tomorrow, but already it is packed. Packed, which is exciting.
I was thinking about it from at this time. I mean, we were here last year, same venue.
Yeah,
I don't remember it being like this. So
it was
much.
tight.
Yeah.
It was tight.
Yeah.
You and I were in a completely different location.
That's
it's exactly right. Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, this guy is Sam Rabinowitz. Sam is the CEO of Lantana LED. So let's just cut right into it. New tools, things like that at Lantana. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, we're really excited. We rolled out a new digital tool that you can find on the web that allows you to compare the fixtures that you have currently versus Lantana LED fixtures. Why is that important? Well, first and foremost, it shows you the energy efficiency loss you have when you use cheap off-the-shelf fixtures that you don't really care about. And that can really translate into some serious energy savings. So Lantana LED products tend to save anywhere from 10 to 20 watts per fixture as compared to these other fixtures. That doesn't sound like a lot until you have 3,000 of them in your data center. And then you're talking kilowatts of power that you're wasting on lights that go to PUE, that then also could have been used for, say, another rack that could have been used to generate revenue or to execute on your core function as the owner. So we're really excited by this tool. The sales and marketing team did a great job, and it's really incisive.
Sam, what I love about this is you've never been shy about quantifying the impact of what it is that you do. And I love that because our first conversation, I'm thinking to myself, lighting, how impactful can it be?
Yeah.
And I was like, holy hell, that's very, very very, very impactful.
Exactly. I mean, so that 6, 10, 12, 50 kilowatts of power, suddenly you're talking about megawatts hours of wasted energy that should be going to your bottom line and instead taking from it. So you're right. It is that snowball effect that we talked about last year. It still is a constant drumbeat that we have at Lantana.
Yeah, I love it. I remember thinking after we spoke last time, I'm like, I imagine my dad saying, "Don't forget to turn the lights on," but multiply that by like 1 million.
Yes.
Right? Because that's the real impact that we're talking about.
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely. I mean, it is a huge business. Yeah. There are millions of fixtures out there in data centers. They need to be controlled. They need to be modulated, and people need to think about the energy usage of this.
It all contributes, right?
Exactly.
So, Sam, obviously, DCD Connect, New York City. Where are you going to be next?
Oh my goodness, we'll be at 7x24. We will be at the Biz Now DICE event in April. Those are great. That's the one in Seattle. We will be at DCD Connect in Virginia. We're going to be everywhere this year.
Sounds it.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Sam, speaking of great, it's always great to see you.
Likewise. This is amazing.
Awesome. And thank you, viewers, for watching JSA TV. We'll see you very soon.
Awesome.
Welcome to JSA TV, where we're covering the latest news, trends, and innovations from thought leaders from within the digital infrastructure space. And this good-looking guy to my right is Bhavnesh Patel. Bhavnesh is the Chief Strategy Officer for Infinitum. Bhavnesh, welcome to JSA TV.
Thank you, Dean. Well, kudos to you for getting infinitum correct in my name. So well done. Well done.
Part of the most stressful part of doing this is just that.
Well done.
Yeah,
Congrats.
thank you. And Bhavnesh, we are live at DCD Connect in the Big Apple, New York City. How's the show going for you?
Amazing. I mean, the amount of innovation that's happening and
There's a
just
lot.
being able to be on the front lines of that has
Yeah.
just been fantastic.
Yeah, and we were here last year. It was busy. Don't get me wrong. I feel like it's busier this year.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think one of the things that I'm seeing is that people are realizing that this, AI revolution is touching every aspect of
That's
life.
it. Yeah.
And it's important to be aware of what's going on and be at the forefront of that.
Yeah, it feels like a relay, right? I mean, you can't even join the race unless someone else is handing you a baton, saying, "Okay, this is your part. You go do this now.
Sure.
You go do this
Yep.
now." But speaking of things that are getting done, Fast Company's most innovative companies. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the new Fast Company designation?
Yeah. We recently got this award, and I think it's just it's a for us, it's not about the awards, but this was a really nice.
It is a
recognition.
good one.
It's a
Let's
great
be honest.
recognition of the hard work that our engineering team and the founder, Ben Schuler, has put behind creating this technology. It's also a great recognition of our partners, our customers that have taken this technology and really deployed it into bigger systems and delivered amazing results for their end users and the data people using these data centers. So it's just the recognition alone has been just humbling, but I really appreciate it.
Well, congratulations on that award. And let's get into some of the meat and potatoes. Infinitum's air core motors use fewer raw materials to cut energy use by 20%. That's correct. 20%. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about that?
Sure. So just at very high level, what we've done with the electric motor, it's been the same for the last 100, 150 years.
Yes.
Every motor is iron with copper wire. We eliminated that, and instead we etched the copper on a printed circuit board. So we use 66% less copper, none of the iron, so a lot less materials. But the other benefit is that the energy consumption of this product is significantly less. Every data center, well, I should say 50% of the world's energy is being used by some sort of motor.
Yeah.
And we're decided to focus on data centers, and our use of this technology in data centers is resulting in a 20% reduction in energy consumption.
So when we think of nobody escapes JSA TV without talking about AI, and this is your time. When we talk about AI and the unimaginable amount of energy consumption and things like that, every little bit of savings helps.
Absolutely.
So why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about your AI play?
Sure. Well, our play is actually on both sides, whether it's air cooled or liquid cooled. Liquid cooled being more the technology being used in AI.
Yeah.
What we see is that even in AI applications, data centers, you might be liquid cooling that GPU, that chip, but you still have a whole bunch of other components like power supplies and other ICs that need to be cooled. And the benefit of Infinitum is that the same motor technology can be deployed on a fan and a pump, and ultimately cool both aspects of the facility. And so, from that perspective, there's some benefits to the operator. The other thing is that we have high efficiency, regardless of whether you're at peak load, which might be at. If you're watching Netflix, your peak load might be at 5 to 8.
Yeah.
If you're running a Microsoft Office, your peak load might be 8 to 5. So. Regardless of what your peak load is, we operate at high efficiency there, as well as during those downtimes where it's a lower load for the facility. The
Fast Company designation makes a lot of sense to me, Bhavnesh. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you to JSA.
You bet. JSA, yeah. It doesn't come off the tongue this easily. Anyway, so thank you, Bhavnesh, and thank you, viewers, for watching JSA TV. We'll see you very soon. Oh, yeah, yeah. Welcome to JSA TV, where we're covering the latest news, trends, and innovations from the thought leaders like this guy in the digital infrastructure space. The gentleman to my right is Mr. Richard Callahan. Richard is the head of solutions engineering at Clean Arc Data Centers. Richard, welcome to JSA TV.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course. And you are a newbie to JSA TV.
I am. Yes, I didn't even know until somebody pointed out to me that you guys had this, and I watched a couple of the videos. I'm really impressed. So
Well, thank you. Thank you.
a lot of fun.
No, you go ahead. Keep talking about how great it is. Richard, how's the show going for you?
It's good. This is always one of the more well attended.
Yeah.
And this venue is kind of tricky because you have the 3 floors or 4 floors to kind of navigate.
Yeah.
But so it's harder to bump into people, but it's been a lot of fun. And I started my career 2 blocks away at on 1501 Broadway. So
Let's
I'm
talk.
coming back home.
Let's talk more about that. So, at Clean Arc, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about what it is that you do
Sure.
and the Clean Arc difference?
So for Clean Arc, I look at myself as kind of the technical liaison between our sales group and our engineering team. So as we start to engage our customers and the discussions move, beyond leasing and get a little more technical about how are we going to use our infrastructure to support our equipment.
Yeah.
That's where I kind of bridge that gap of being able to say, listen, here's our infrastructure plan. This is what you intend to do. This is how we're going to close the gap and answer any of their questions and try to reassure them that the solution that Clean Arc provides is the best solution for them.
I love it, and I wouldn't be shocked to learn that there aren't a lot of people that have that job that sit in the middle there and provide that conduit. But I imagine it's pretty valuable.
Yeah, it's interesting because I come from an engineering background.
Yeah.
I've been consulting engineering in different form or fashion for quite a while, and then moved into a development role, working with the design teams, but thought the engagement with the customer was a lot more interesting because every customer has their very unique profile.
I love it.
So there's a lot more solutions development. It's not just kind of cookie cutter stuff.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting to me. So you're right. There's a lot of different environments out there, and I imagine the customers have to understand how. Hey, I have this, square peg. How am I going to fit it into?
Somebody bridge this for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of we're trying to raise that level of comfort. That hey, we have the technology, we have the infrastructure, we have the reliability, everything that you're looking for, we can support for you. So
let's talk about some of those projects, specifically one in Virginia, VA1, that I believe just came online not that long ago.
Came online I'd love for that to be the truth, but we have started development. So we're in the permitting process, but we've been able to start land clearing. We've been fortunate with the location that there's a lot of the property was already graded and kind of in good condition. We've taken the time to ensure that where we position ourselves is strategic to both the Ashburn market and the Richmond markets.
Yeah.
So we've done a very thoughtful job, I think, of choosing that location. And one of the unique things that we've been trying to do is integrate with the community a lot more quickly.
I was a panelist. No, that's good. I was a panelist on a debate session about this very thing. I'm very interested. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's obviously on the tip of everyone's tongue right now.
No, I think it's really important. I live in Ashburn, and I see the coalition of the Piedmont, whatever the anti-data center folks.
Yes.
And they've got their act together, right?
Yeah.
And so they're very active. And
Thank you. Right.
And I think they, to a certain extent, living in Ashburn, you kind of understand their perspective, but I'm able to see kind of both sides of the fence also. So it was nice when Clean Arc, one of the first things that I got involved in was our community outreach program. And so we've met with the local community. There was a lot of engagement, to the extent where we've been working with one individual locally, kind of our eyes and ears, in the community.
Yes.
And it's been very helpful, I think, as we start to move into their backyard essentially. So,
Richard, the industry is going to need a lot more of you.
right.
As we move those facilities kind of to that residential edge, right,
Sure.
outside of that zone from the major metropolitan areas, the challenge, it's a whole new kind of challenge that you guys apparently are addressing in a very humane way, which I love.
And I think that was one of the reasons we're trying to be thoughtful about the location. We're not so far off of I-95 that now it's going to be this oddity out in the middle of
Yes.
the farm country.
Yeah.
Which I think that happens to be the case for a lot of the competitors. Which
That's right.
I have a feeling that's going to be more of a shock to the local system.
That's right. That's
So
right.
we've been trying to be much more thoughtful about that. The other component that sometimes gets lost is we do proactively engage a sustainable solution. So we've been trying to kind of close that gap between the renewable power and the consumption of power at our site. So we're prepared to turn on 300 megawatts of renewable within the PJM grid to align with the deployment of the customer over the next few years. So,
and that's a message that the community is going to want to hear.
Right.
Yeah. I think all too often they kind of like ram it down the throats in the middle of the night to get things rezoned, and then the townspeople are coming at you with the pitchforks.
Right. And to be honest with you, even the property, if it's zoned accordingly, and you don't have to do rezoning, the local folks, they don't necessarily understand, know what
That's
this
right.
means.
That's right.
And to be
It's
honest,
a mystery.
Yeah, and they go online.
That's I see it all the time, Richard. I know exactly where you're going.
Do, right,
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's definitely an education gap.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously everybody uses their phone and gets their Netflix, and that's the cloud, right? Excuse me. So it's not. The cloud is a building. I've been telling people that for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's not this amorphous space.
Right.
So it's been interesting. I think the folks they're receptive to it. I think and listening to the community and hearing their concerns, it's a lot of it are unfounded. And
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
But it's just because they just don't know, right?
Right.
And that's fine.
And when there's a misinformation machine behind any research that you might,
Right.
exactly. But look, nobody leaves JSA without talking about AI, and you're no different. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about CleanArc's position on AI? And
well, we fully support it, of course.
Of course.
And we fully expect that level of deployment in our facility. So what we've done is we've designed a facility that ensures flexibility, because we've heard everything from we'll stay with cloud compute, we'll transition to AI, we're going to go all AI. So we have the ability to kind of flex up or down within our facility to support that. So
that's a good flex,
right? I mean, it is, and we think we have that that problem solved right now. The trick is, this is where the rubber is going to meet the road for me, is as that customer shows up and says, well, here's what's going to go in there. How are you going to do, make it work for me? So
you're a bit of a trailblazer, Richard, and I say that honestly because we see this ain't going away.
No, it's not, and I think we've seen examples of XAI or others that are deploying at this volume, but it's still so new, because I think just the physical construction just can't keep up with the demand.
Yeah.
So there's this slow ramp just to get the physical construction component, and then backfill it with the liquid cooling aspect of it. That's really where the fun begins, because I didn't personally, nobody has done it at scale for a prolonged amount of time yet. Right?
Yeah.
So we're all going to figure this out together as we go.
I love it.
And it'll be fun.
Yeah. Richard, let's do this again sometime. Welcome to JSA TV, where we're covering the latest news, trends, and innovations from thought leaders like my new friend Dennis over here from within the digital infrastructure space. And this good-looking guy next to me is Mr. Dennis Streeter. Dennis is the CRO of Hyper. Dennis, welcome to JSA TV.
Thanks for having me here. Having a good time at this trade show. What do you think about New York? Huh?
I love it. I love it. Now, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm a Chicagoan. But my heart
You're forgiven.
My heart is in New York. I love the vibe. I like the people. I like the music, the theater, the art. I love all of it. But that's another conversation. How's the show going for you, Dennis?
The show's going great for us. I mean, everyone in this space, everyone at the show understands just how white hot the data center market is, right?
That's right.
You know, you've got your colo cloud, you've got your enterprise, then you've got this juggernaut known as AI just coming in and completely upending
I've heard
all
of this.
the place. You've heard of this?
That's right.
You can't turn on a television station without hearing about it. Any screen you look at has AI something ahead of it.
Yeah.
And we're the digital builders of that new railroad, right? This is the new railroad. This is what connects us all and brings all these great services to us. And I'm here for it, man.
I believe him. I absolutely believe him. But Dennis, for our viewers that don't already know, why don't you tell them a little bit about Hyper?
Oh, so glad to do that. So Hyper Solutions is the company that I'm the chief revenue officer of. And what we do is we build power distribution products for the critical mission market at scale. And the key is at scale, right?
Yeah.
Where we're at in the supply chain right now with post-COVID, you're still seeing lead times at 52, 62, 72 weeks on really critical pieces of switchgear and PUs and RPPs. Well, we saw that call and we answered that call a few years ago. And what's our claim to fame is we use a distributed manufacturing model. So instead of having one place where I build finished goods, I have 9.
Okay.
Right? So if I've got a problem in a factory, I've got 8 other ones still cranking and still chugging because the data center market demand is so high and speed to delivery and speed to market is everything right now.
Honestly, okay, so, and this is only day one, I've heard 2 things more than I've heard anything else. AI,
Of course.
but also supply chain.
Yeah.
I did not. I mean, maybe I should have anticipated that, but supply chain management. It's just like it's a hurry up and wait kind of
100%,
scenario.
100%.
So tell our viewers a little bit about. I mean, how you went into this with that providing 2 solutions. One, energy.
That's right.
2, how to get it quickly.
How to get it, right? Yeah, it doesn't do you any good to say, I've got an opportunity for a client. They want me to build them a 100 megawatt data center. And you go back and say, well, I can have it online in 2030.
Yeah.
No, they want it next week, right? So during COVID, when the whole supply chain of pretty much everything humans bought on the planet got gummed up, the orders didn't stop flowing. Data center demand didn't go down. So there was no pause in any of this. So we're still dealing with that pent-up demand from the COVID times, plus the AI juggernaut I mentioned earlier, just stacking on top of us, right?
Yeah.
So what it's led to, if you're a mid-tier colo cloud operator, you're in line behind the Mag 7 at the large manufacturers because you don't write $3 billion POs. And that's
There
just
it
the
is.
bottom line,
There
right?
it is. Yeah.
So what do you do if you're one of those mid-level, tier-level colo players that are trying to provide for those Mag 7 customers? You've got to have supply chain stood up, and that's literally what Hyper did. One of the unique things that we do when we build and engineer a, say, power distribution unit from the ground up, we qualify it with all of the major manufacturers of circuit breaker. So that way, you as a customer might say, we prefer brand X, but if brand X is out of breakers, do you want to go with brand Y and get your equipment on time?
Yeah.
Or do you want to wait 6 months for brand X to get their supply chain figured out? Our customers unanimously tell us, get it here now, swap out that breaker. And that's just one of the innovative ways we're tackling the supply chain problem at Hyper.
Outstanding. Thank you for bringing that energy. I know it's translating well with our viewers, but we talked about supply chain. Now let's talk about AI. Because you can't not. Let's talk about how AI maybe has exacerbated the problem that you are solving and how maybe it's exacerbated your own ability to solve those problems.
So I think it's a great segue, and I would make the statement of this. I think that AI is going to be the final unifying force of humanity. And the topic that I center around is a concept that we've introduced at Hyper as one of our kind of higher-minded concept, which is that of universal basic AI. You've heard of universal basic income, the premise where everyone gets a check every month.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people, you have your opinion whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
But nope, I don't like a handout, right? I don't want a handout. I want to work for it. But I'm going to need access to the latest AI tools so that I can compete on a global stage. And that's me as a North American guy saying this.
Yeah.
What about the 13-year-old in Bangladesh? She's great. She's smart. She's got a lot of great ideas. But if she doesn't have access to some level of AI, she won't be able to compete with everyone on the world stage. So my call to our industry, ourselves included, is we go out and build this AI future that increases productivity and the GDP of the planet, that we carve out enough for a universally accessible AI agent for everyone on the planet.
JSA, Dennis.
That's my big thing.
Dennis, I could not. I'm with you. I am with you. JSA for its entire existence, 20 years, we've been a very kind of human first firm.
100%.
And so when others come and sit here in front of this camera and they, without saying we're a human first firm,
Right. How do you say that in your marketing materials?
They show it. It gets me very excited because it's more than just power. It's more than just supply chain. It's about humanity.
100%. It is 100% about that. And I think we do all this bit and byte manipulation of data, and we forget the whole point is to serve humanity, bring us closer as humans. And I'll give you the hot take. This is a Dennis hot take. You heard it here first. I said that AI is going to unite humanity, and what it's really going to do is it's going to take care of all of the administrative tasks for us. Where's my PO? Where's my delivery? When's my dinner arriving? When does Johnny get picked up from school? And it's going to allow us to connect again as humans. And when we do that, we will finally see that we're way more alike than different. And I'm talking globally. And then we can start to evolve as a species. And I'm here for it, buddy.
Ladies and gentlemen, my co-host, Dennis Streeter. Dennis, that's me too. Me too. So good to meet you and to have you on JSA TV. Let us most definitely do this again.
Yeah, come look and learn more about us at hypersolutions.com. We really appreciate the time here.
You bet. And thank you, viewers, for watching Dennis and I on JSA TV. We'll see you very soon. Welcome to JSA TV, where we're covering the latest news, trends, and innovations from the leaders, from thought leaders like my new friend Sean over here, from the within the digital infrastructure space. And to my right, I have Mr. Sean Barley. Sean is the chief evangelist, a title I absolutely love. Chief evangelist for Ampere Computing. Sean, welcome to JSA TV.
Thanks for having me, Dean. It's a pleasure to be here, and I get that a lot. A lot of people say, I just love your title, and I like my title too, so, it's all good.
So let's do it. Let's lean in on it. Evangelize. For our viewers that don't already know, why don't you tell them a little bit about Ampere Computing?
Absolutely. Ampere Computing is about a 7-year-old company. We are in the silicon space. We build processors for servers, ARM instruction set, and these are high core count processors. But the real reason why Ampere was built was to provide sustainable computing for the masses.
Okay.
This is something that we kind of took a view of early on. And we said, look, processors consume way too much power. So we built something that actually, for an equivalent amount of performance, will give anywhere from 30 to 60% less power consumed for the same amount of work done.
I love it, Sean. And you actually are bringing up a really, really great point that's been made by probably 75% of the people that I have interviewed today. And that is, there is no, this industry, it used to be, well, it's the data center industry, and then it became the digital infrastructure industry. But what the reality is that this is an ecosystem that is only getting bigger.
Yes.
And the people who build the facility, that's the first thing that gets done, or the last thing that gets done. First, you got to get power. You got to have the processing, and you got to have all this. You got to have a supply chain. You got to have all of that stuff, and you are part of that ecosystem.
Absolutely. And we work with so many customers now that are basically saying what you're saying. Like, we have been building data centers for quite some time.
Yeah.
Now the whole problem is I can't get enough power.
There it is.
Right?
Yeah.
And they're so power limited. I visit data centers all the time. Some of them are here at this show, and basically they're saying, "Oh yeah, look at my data center," and it's about 30% actually,
That's it.
at
That's
capacity
it. Yes.
because they ran out of power.
Yeah.
And so, that's been a problem. Of course, with the AI, thing coming on, it's becoming even more of a problem.
Yeah, no, I believe that. So let's talk a little bit about Ampere more specifically. Your newsroom. Any interesting news coming out of the newsroom there at Ampere?
Well, yes, we did have an interesting piece that came out just last week.
Okay.
There was an announcement of the intention to acquire the company by SoftBank. So that was some pretty big news.
That's big news, Sean.
Yes.
And so, how do you feel about that?
Hey, look, we think it's a great recognition of our value to the industry.
Yes.
We think that we have always had a major story to tell, and we've been a demonstrated known quantity. At this point, we've been producing products for 7 years.
Yeah.
Every year we've pulled a new product out. So we've demonstrated our capability. We've demonstrated our value proposition in terms of being able to deliver a lot more compute for a lot less power. And then, now we're telling an AI story, right?
Yeah.
Which is, look, even though you're going to, weld AI into your digital service somehow, maybe someday, you haven't quite figured it out.
Yeah.
But when you do it, you're going to want to do it for the least amount of cost. And that means the least amount of power.
Yeah.
And so increasingly that OpEx component is going to be big. And so that's what we're telling the story of now is like, you can actually do, especially production AI, which is really inference for a lot less power as well.
So the combined entity then just makes your product stronger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because, there's a lot of interest. If you go to the press release that was done, this next revolution in AI is stretching everybody. We talked about it earlier.
Forget about it.
And so, this is something that we want to have this kind of technology at the forefront of. If you can do these things for a lot less power, you don't have to go put a nuclear, power block at every data center. So much the better.
Yeah, right. Honestly, the ecosystem just gets bigger. Congratulations on the news. It clearly is affirmation that what you were doing was super valuable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank
Sean,
you very much.
You bet, Sean. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
You bet.
Appreciate it, Dave.
And thank you, viewers, for watching JSA TV. We'll see you very soon. Welcome to JSA TV, where we're covering the latest news, trends, and innovations from thought leaders from within the digital infrastructure space. And this good-looking guy to my right is Mr. Jim Marsh. Jim is the Director of Key Accounts at Munters. Jim, welcome to JSA TV.
Thank you, Dean. It's a pleasure to be here.
Outstanding. So, were you here last year?
I've been here many, many times in many, many locations.
Is this same? Is this the most you've seen? I can't remember seeing this many people at this event.
I said to somebody just not too long ago that this is a factor larger crowd than last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank goodness DCD provided larger debate rooms because
my
couldn't
panel
grow
was
anymore.
Full. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to get into some of these.
Right.
So let's talk about your role at Munters. Tell us a little bit about your role and maybe what makes kind of Munters unique within the space that you play.
So I've been 5 years in May with Munters Data Center Technologies, and that journey started with me being involved with data center construction and Munters being a great partner. In the 5 years that I've been with Munters, we've seen an amazing transformation in how data centers are operated and cooled. And of course, everyone talks about liquid cooling and AI and all that stuff. But what Munters has done from the beginning 25 years ago is innovate technological solutions for the time. So in the beginning, there was evaporative water. So there was direct evaporative media, there's indirect economization, and we've gone through all these packaged solutions into the split systems that we are mostly seeing today. So that includes water going through the pipes or refrigerant going through the pipes. So that's the two main ways to do split systems, where you absorb heat in a building and then you move it great distance to put the heat outside.
So, because that's a brilliant answer to my first question. Like, how does a company like Munters innovate in kind of that real time? Because I mean, clearly that is key to your success. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot of it's just trying to stay plugged into current trends and then using that curve to project to the future. So right now, my former manager, Keith Dunavant, is now Senior Vice President of Strategy and Portfolio. And that's his job, is to look at what we're doing today and project that out over the next 5 to 10 years as to what's coming. And of course, nobody knows for sure, but it's just like a hurricane. The cone of probability is where we're going.
Yeah. No, clearly, mission accomplished. You guys are doing great things. But yeah, you mentioned it, and so I'm going to talk about it. Your portfolio, specifically with regard to data center cooling. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it's a broad portfolio. If you come to our booth, there's a logo designed by JSA that's the circle of all the stuff we do. Yeah. And it's kind of like a history lesson of Munters. And we've never stopped doing what we started doing because it's like a bell curve. The trend moves along the timeline, but you never lose what is in the past. You have to be able to service it. But most recently, our acquisition of GeoClima chillers is probably the most significant because we've had chill water solutions for years, but we didn't have that last piece. So that's huge. The development of our coolant distribution units. So we have, in addition to GeoClima, we've had SciCool refrigerant economizer for the last 4 years deployed at scale. We've developed a refrigerant to liquid CDU, if you will. We call LCE, liquid cooling evaporator. Now we have liquid to liquid CDUs. That's the main market right now, is doing liquid to liquid. But our approach is different than the commodity guys because we're not using internal redundancy. We're doing what we call unitary redundancy, where everything is times one on board, and you have, say you need 4 CDUs, we do N+1, so you'd have 5.
Okay.
And that's the most efficient way to do it.
I love it. So you mentioned the acquisition. What can our viewers maybe expect from Munters, say, in the next 6 to 12 months?
So we've been very public about our collaboration with ZutaCore, which is a 2-phase direct-to-chip.
Interviewed them in Hawaii. I love those guys.
Yeah, and I've known Udi for a long time, and they've been developing, and what we really love is their direct-to-chip technology that basically controls the amount of liquid, and therefore you've got fully saturated refrigerant at both ends of the equation. So that's going to continue. We're going to be developing Obviously, more geoclima products specific to the U.S. marketplace. Right now, we're taking orders for our plant in Italy, but we are also adding on to our capacity in Virginia to build chillers specifically. So that'll be coming on towards the end of the year. And then CDU, is a sort of generic term. But if you think about the medium to medium, so right now we're talking about, we do today refrigerant to liquid. So the second is the cooling, the TCS. We do liquid to liquid, and we're going to go to liquid to air, air to liquid. So therefore, you can use facility water to cool two-phase refrigerant. It's going to be up and down the stack.
So you're busy over there, yeah?
We're very busy. R&D is very busy, and we're busy just because the market's busy.
Absolutely. I've got an idea, Jim. Let's you and I do this again at this time next year, and we'll talk about all that good stuff that you guys got coming down the pipe.
Great, Dean. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Thank you, Jim. And thank you, viewers, for watching JSA TV. We'll see you soon. Welcome to JSA TV, where we're covering the latest news, trends, and innovations from thought leaders like this guy to my right in the world of digital infrastructure. And this guy to my right is Jacob Wolf. Jacob is the Global Key Account Manager for Armstrong Fluid Technology. Jacob, did I get it all right?
You did.
Yes. Outstanding. Okay, so how's the show going for you?
It's amazing. I've been in the industry my entire career, and I haven't seen a show on this regional basis that's this busy. It's completely a renaissance.
I mean, it is a renaissance. You're the first person to characterize it that way.
Yeah.
I could not agree more.
It's like the ethanol industry in 2005.
Yeah, exactly.
My heat exchanger knowledge.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, it's very crowded, very busy, lots of things getting done here. And speaking of which, let's talk about Armstrong Fluid Technology. What do you get done?
So we're a little unique, and there's other firms out there that do this, but what I really appreciate working here is we manufacture everything to a component, like a smart pump, to controls and optimization of a system, and then we can manufacture a custom CDU, standard CDU, or really a chilled water modular chiller plant. And so our data center customers like the fact that we have all that experience, because then we're able to help resolve issues, and it's really nice to be able to do that and support them.
Yeah, no, it probably helps to know that you are capable of just doing kind of the core competency, but you're actually bringing a lot of experience and understanding and know-how to that competency to help them along the way.
Yeah.
And speaking of a new solution,
yes,
for you guys, let's talk about it.
So we and you're probably not the first one, or I'm probably not the first one to say this. We have designed a CDU or coolant distribution unit module. Our expertise is a little different than maybe traditional. We are a little bit more custom. We provide controls. We have some patents on the heat exchanger and how they work. So we're kind of bringing something a little different to the market, but we're really happy with it. It goes along very well with our modular chiller plants or heat pump package, even though that's not data centers, heat pump plants. So we're really excited about that, and we launched it at ASHRAE and at AHR, and we'll be taking it around. So
I love it. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you.
But I'm going to get to the thing I wanted to talk to you most about, and that is energy and sustainability. The reason, and you tell me, the reason why you need to offer this is because of energy and sustainability. It's necessary. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about that core message of energy and sustainability for Armstrong?
Sure. I'm very passionate about sustainability. Especially, I come from a market of refrigeration as well. So working with like CO2, ammonia, and natural refrigerants, and I'm a huge fan of that. So, we try to work with the data centers to help reduce their Scope 3 emissions. So one way would be to, a traditional base mount pump with the drive on the wall. Our take is just have an integrated drive on the pump, and then put it in the pump in a vertical inline. Then you take away the base, the isolation. You take away all that. No mount for the drive on the wall. That will be on more of a component level. On a system level, like where you have a modular chiller plant, you're reducing the amount of freight going to there. And I even hear one of the discussions they talked about, freight's an issue because they got so many trucks going into these massive data centers.
Yeah.
It's hard to manage it all. So it simplifies it. And I do believe that, from a carbon standpoint, it's also attractive. We're looking at also green materials as well. So green steel, looking at procuring materials that you normally wouldn't think from renewable sources that are being manufactured with renewable sources. And so those are some of the things. Optimization, we're always in optimization.
What I really love about the message here is that it all counts.
Yeah.
It all counts. When we're talking about supply chain, and we're talking about truck rolls, and we're talking about lighting within the data center, every little bit counts.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the ecosystem, number one, it's why it's growing as fast, and with innovators like yourselves in the industry increasingly. It's because it all counts.
and you see this push toward electrification in other markets.
Yeah.
We do a lot with district energy, and even the regular HVAC market, embedded carbon is going to be huge.
Yeah.
And being part of MEP 2030, being we're in a lot of the USG. I'm going to say it wrong. I'm LEED certified. I should know it, but we're in a lot of the associations. But having EPDs, having TM65s, we're on the board for AHR for TM65s. That's going to become more and more, and all of data centers, HVAC, everything.
I believe it. Jacob, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
You bet.
Appreciate
And
it.
thank you, viewers, for watching JSA TV. We'll see you very soon.